Have you ever found yourself shocked, outraged, or just plain disappointed by the flaws, vices, and misdeeds of your fellow human beings? If so, you're not alone. It's a common experience we all face as we navigate the complexities of social life. But the ancient Stoic philosophers had a uniquely powerful perspective on this eternal human frustration that still resonates today. They had the wisdom and courage to recognize some hard, sobering truths about human nature that remain as relevant in the modern world as they were over 2,000 years ago. In this video, we'll take a deep dive into the Stoic view on the imperfections and potential of humanity and explore how we can respond with reason, compassion, and hope for progress, both individually and collectively. So, if you're ready for some practical wisdom to help you make sense of the world and be a force for good, let's jump in. We've all had those moments where we're taken aback by the capacity for human beings to act unwisely, unethically, or just plain badly. We see it in our own mistakes and struggles, and in the words and actions of others, from our inner circles to the global stage. It can be so tempting to get cynical and write off humanity as a lost cause. But the Stoics encourage us to resist this impulse and instead confront a difficult reality head-on, without illusions. They recognize the uncomfortable truth that every single human being, without exception, has flaws, vices, and the capacity for immoral or destructive conduct to varying degrees. We all harbor prejudices and biases, battle temptations and impulses, act selfishly or rashly at times, and inevitably make mistakes that bring harm to ourselves and others, whether intentionally or inadvertently. No human is perfectly rational, wise, or good, no matter how impressive the external facade may appear. The seeds of both virtue and vice exist within all of us. This is a bitter pill to swallow, especially in an age of social media highlight reels and personal branding. We want to believe the best about ourselves and those we admire, that deep down, we and our heroes are consistently principled, discerning, and ethical, especially in comparison to those we disagree with or look down upon. But the Stoics had the rare integrity to see past flattering illusions and acknowledge the universal human susceptibility to weakness and poor judgment that spares no one. The truth is, behind even the most polished public image or respected leader lies an imperfect human being struggling with the same fundamental forces, both internal and external, that have shaped human behavior throughout history. These forces include greed, anger, envy, arrogance, insecurity, fear, tribalism, short-sightedness, and ignorance, among others. We're all subject to these influences to some degree, even if they manifest in different ways. Recognizing this shared vulnerability is a crucial step towards developing empathy and understanding for others, even when their actions disappoint or frustrate us. But the Stoics didn't stop there in their psychological analysis. They were not pure pessimists about human nature, resigned to the idea that we're doomed to wallow forever in vice and folly. On the contrary, they balanced their frank assessment of our flaws with a profound belief in the innate potential for goodness, growth, and positive change within all people, regardless of background or past mistakes. The Stoics asserted that embedded within the imperfect human creature is the precious seed of reason, the cognitive capacity to deliberately train our minds and cultivate strength of character over time. Through the diligent practice of self-reflection, moral education, and consciously choosing virtuous thoughts and habits each day, we can gradually enhance our wisdom, self-discipline, and ethical conduct in a way no other species can. We can learn to subdue our basest impulses, look beyond superficial appearances, discern the path of justice and truth, respond to hostility with patience and principle, and expand our circles of concern and compassion to embrace more of humanity and nature. In other words, the Stoic view of human nature is that we are works in progress, flawed, yes, but far from static or hopeless. We are endowed with the transformative potential to understand our own minds, question inherited assumptions, reform harmful patterns, and creatively apply our talents and resources to uplift ourselves and others. The veneer of civilization may be fragile, but the Stoics saw the long arc of human history as an opportunity to evolve mentally, morally, socially, through the power of reason and the determined effort to habituate virtue and wisdom. But the Stoics were no starry-eyed utopians. They were keenly aware that the road to individual and collective progress is long, steep, and often marked by setbacks, relapses, and detours. There are no quick fixes, magic formulas, or permanent finish lines in the marathon of character development and social enlightenment. The mythical Stoic sage who embodies perfect equanimity and principle is an aspirational ideal to strive towards, not a reality to flagellate ourselves for falling short of. Even the most admirable exemplars and role models held up by the Stoics, titans like Socrates, Cato, and Marcus Aurelius, were not without their imperfections, inconsistencies, and off days. What made them worthy of emulation in Stoic eyes was not a state of immaculate sainthood, but rather their sincere, persistent efforts to pursue truth and virtue as a way of life, even in the face of great adversity. They modeled the resilience to acknowledge missteps without surrendering to despair, the strength to resist temptations without self-righteousness, the courage to intervene against injustice without losing their cool, and the endurance to face hardships while maintaining hope. The same is true for any of us mere mortals who aspire to live with greater wisdom and purpose. We will stumble, relapse, and hypocritically fall short of our own principles more often than we'd prefer. We will regularly butt up against the limits of our knowledge, willpower, and influence to enact the changes we wish to see in ourselves and the world. We will face discouragement, misunderstanding, resistance, and inertia at every turn, both from without and within. But the ultimate metric of a life well lived, through a Stoic lens, lies not in our ability to achieve an unblemished record, but rather in the strength of our commitment to keep showing up day after day, to inch forward on the path of progress as best we can, in whatever sphere we find ourselves in. It's the humble recognition that we are all students in the school of life, works in progress with so much still to learn, yet also teachers with something of value to share by example. So if this inescapable bind is the human condition, how then should we respond when confronted with the inevitable flaws and failings both in ourselves and others? How can we contribute to the cultivation of a wiser, kinder, more just world in the face of our individual and collective imperfections? The Stoics counsel us to start by directing our attention and energy to that which lies within our direct control, namely, our own judgments, choices, words, and actions in the present moment. As tempting as it may be to dwell on the misdeeds of others, we cannot coerce anyone to change their ways or eradicate vice from the world by sheer force of will. What we can do is take responsibility for our own conduct and resolve to show up each day as a force for good to the best of our ability. We can cultivate self-awareness by regularly examining our own thoughts, motivations, and actions, being honest about our flaws and biases. We can practice equanimity, striving to respond with calm reason rather than emotional reactivity when faced with others' shortcomings. In each decision, big or small, we can consciously choose the path that aligns with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline. We can embrace continuous learning, seeking out knowledge and experiences that challenge our assumptions and broaden our perspective. Instead of preaching, we can lead by example, embodying the qualities we wish to see in others. We can exercise compassion, remembering that everyone is fighting their own inner battles and approaching others' flaws with understanding. We can focus on progress rather than perfection, celebrating small improvements in ourselves and others instead of expecting overnight transformation. We can work towards creating environments and institutions that make it easier for people to choose virtue. When we inevitably fall short of our ideals, we can practice resilience, picking ourselves up and recommitting to the path of wisdom. Gradually, we can expand our circle of concern, extending our compassion and sense of responsibility beyond our immediate sphere. By implementing these practices, we can strengthen our own moral fiber and commitment to truth through small daily steps. We can then work to be a positive influence on others through the power of example rather than self-righteous preaching. When we encounter ethical transgressions or poor behavior in our peers and in society, we can practice meeting it with firm reason and boundless compassion rather than bitter contempt, recognizing our common human frailties and potential for reform. We can seek to understand the complex roots of dysfunction, the myriad internal and external factors shaping people's conduct, while still holding a hard line against cruelty and injustice. These factors include childhood experiences, societal pressures, economic circumstances, education, mental health, systemic injustices, cognitive biases, peer influence, biological factors, and historical and cultural context. By considering these factors, we can develop a more nuanced understanding of human behavior without excusing harmful actions. This understanding can inform more effective strategies for promoting positive change. While we cannot single-handedly fix the flaws of human nature by force, we can commit to being part of the long-term solution in whatever modest ways our circumstances allow. We can create conditions that make it easier for people to develop wisdom and character by advocating for quality education, building strong communities, working towards fair institutions, promoting social norms that reward honorable action, supporting mental health initiatives, encouraging media literacy, fostering intergenerational dialogue, promoting environmental stewardship, supporting the arts and humanities, and advocating for economic policies that reduce inequality and provide basic security. The Stoics were under no illusions that any one of us will live to see a utopian society free from vice. They recognized that the work of lasting collective evolution is slow, non-linear, and transcends any single lifespan. We may feel dismayed by the extent of greed, dishonesty, tribalism, short-term thinking, and other flaws running rampant today. But the Stoic view is that with concerted effort, we can plant seeds of wisdom and virtue that will bear fruit gradually over generations. So much of our modern world, our freedoms, tools, knowledge, and prosperity, is the result of courageous individuals choosing the hard path of progress over the easy path of least resistance. And now, it's our turn to carry that torch forward, even if we can only see a few steps ahead and the night feels long. By studying and spreading the provenly timeless principles of Stoic philosophy, we can help equip people with the mental frameworks to make wiser, more ethical choices in their own lives and as citizens. By walking our talk to the best of our ability, we can set an example worth emulating and attract more people to the path of character and conscience. By contributing our talents and resources to building a society that incentivizes people to be their best selves, we can slowly tilt the scales from base impulses towards our higher nature. Ultimately, the Stoic stance towards human flaws boils down to this: we are an imperfect species capable of breathtaking acts of both villainy and virtue. Our default state may be far from wise, but we have the innate tools to grow in wisdom and character with every thought, word, and deed. While we may never achieve the mythical ideal of the sage in this lifetime, we can strive to be 1% better than we were yesterday, more discerning, disciplined, honest, brave, just, and help create conditions for others to do the same. When we zoom out, the arc of human history is long, but it bends towards justice and virtue if enough of us commit to the hard daily work of moral progress within our spheres of influence. And when we zoom back in, we realize that this work is not some abstract, faraway project. It starts right here, right now, with what each of us chooses to think and do in response to all that's wrong with the world. So the next time you're shocked by evidence of human imperfection, pause and remember this Stoic perspective. We're all flawed works in progress, stumbling in the dark, but the dawn of wisdom is coming, one difficult choice at a time. Keep the faith, be the change, and trust that every small act of conscience plants a seed to someday make the world a bit brighter for generations to come. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch and reflect on this important topic. I truly believe that by studying Stoic philosophy and supporting each other in applying it to our modern challenges, we can face reality head-on while still maintaining a sense of compassionate hope for the future of humanity. If you found value in this perspective, I would be so grateful if you liked this video and shared it with someone who could benefit from a reason to have faith in people, even at our most flawed. The more we can spread these timeless ideas and make them accessible to all, the more light we bring to a world that deeply needs more wisdom and virtue. For more in-depth explorations of Stoic concepts and how we can put them into practice in the 21st century, I hope you'll consider subscribing to this channel, where I post new videos every week aimed at helping us build the mindsets and habits to live with greater perspective, purpose, and impact. I would love to continue learning and growing together with you, and I want to hear from you. Please leave a comment sharing your biggest takeaways from the Stoic view on human imperfection and potential, and your experiences trying to respond to life's challenges with courage and compassion rather than cynicism. Feel free to also let me know what other topics you'd like to see me cover in future videos. I'm always looking to create content that speaks to your most pressing questions and concerns. Until next time, I wish you the strength to confront hard realities head-on, the clarity to discern the wisest path forward, the integrity to walk your highest talk, and the resilience to keep showing up to the arena even after setbacks. No matter how crazy the world may seem, never forget that every single day you have the power to take the high road and be the change you wish to see, for yourself, for others, and for generations yet to come. As Marcus Aurelius put it centuries ago, waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. An imperfect one, but a sincere one, and that is more than enough. Thank you. Go be awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.